program today. And Dean, the average age here is higher than yours, so you won't need to use this, okay?
Our program today is our district judge, Judge Dean Fowler. Dean's a Gilmer native. I don't think anyone here really needs an introduction. Was a local attorney, elected in 2003, Upshur County judge, where he served 4 terms, and recently elected 115th District Court judge. Dean?
Well, thank y'all for having me. I've been here a number of times as the county judge, and so I'm grateful to be able to show up as a district judge, talk to you a little bit about the differences in the job and the things that I'm learning, because it has been a learning process. I brought the DA with us because he has been a huge help, guiding me, particularly through a lot of the criminal things. Just explaining to me how some things work. I did a lot of criminal work, criminal defense work as a lawyer many years ago, but kind of been out of that circle for about 18 years or so. I've appreciated his help. I was looking back over the things that I handled as county judge. Of course, a lot of administrative work, dealing with the commissioners and the county Commissioner's Court and all the county business that we would have to take care of. Of course, all of that's gone. I have very little administrative work anymore. I sit on a juvenile board that helps run the juvenile probation department. But that's one of the only administrative things I have left anymore. Besides running my staff, which consists of, I have a full-time court reporter, a full-time coordinator, and a full-time bailiff. I did look back, as county judge, I handled misdemeanor cases, so class A and B misdemeanors, things like possession of marijuana, driving while intoxicated, assault, family violence, those type cases, a lot of driving while license invalid, things like that. And it's pretty easy to tell, but I know about what the calls number was when I started, and I know what it was when I stopped. So I can tell you that over 16 years, with the help of the DA's office, I handled about 16,000 misdemeanor cases. Not quite half of what's been handled in the county since the beginning of time, 1850-something. And handled probably about 4,000 probate cases. So I was busy up there, but it is a lot different in the district court, and there is a lot more to do. I tried to do like a rough count of divorces and tax suits and all the criminal cases that we've handled. And we've handled about, already in 4.5 months, we've handled about 260 cases so far to a final hearing. An example of what a day can be like is this morning we started at 9 o'clock. We had 3 divorces, which was not too bad. We had 9 motions to revoke. So a motion to revoke is when most people, if they're a first-time offender, they get community supervision, or what we commonly call probation. So they go on probation. If they do everything that they're supposed to do, then at the end they get dismissed from probation and they go home, and that saves. It saves a lot of community resources if they can do that. But when they fail to meet the conditions of their probation, most likely they just stop reporting. They just don't show up and see the probation officer. Then the DA's office, the probation officer will tell the DA's office, hey, I haven't seen this guy in 2 or 3 months. They file a motion to revoke, then they come to court in front of me. So we handled 9 of those today, people that just weren't making their probation. We also had 4 felony plea bargains. Actually, one had been pled to no, they were all felonies this morning. This morning, those people that got revoked and sent to the state jail or to prison, there was a total of 35 years this morning. I mentioned state jail. I'll tell you something about that. State jail, we call it state jail, but it's a division of the Texas Department of Corrections. When you get state jail time, you actually pretty much have to serve that day for day. And state jail crimes are things like possession of a controlled substance when you have a very small amount. What's another good example of a state jail felony? Burglary
of a building.
Burglary of a building, things like that. State jail time is 180 days minimum to 24 months and or a $10,000 fine. That's the most, 24 months is the most you can get. But it's different than the big pen because you do that time day for day. And there's a way they can get good participation time, but most of the inmates can't figure out how that system works, and so they don't get that time. They have to do the full day for day. Third-degree felonies and second-degree felonies and first-degree felonies, that's when you get the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. So that's the big pen. Unfortunately, because our penitentiaries were full, we might sentence someone to, let's say, 20 years in prison, and they might do 2 or 3 years, maybe, and then they're paroled out. The exception to that is if it's what's called aggravated, so aggravated robbery, aggravated sexual assault, murder, things like that. If they get aggravated time, then they have to do 1/2 of the time. And they have to do a calendar 1/2 day for day. Now we have had, I've had 2 felony criminal trials over here so far, and I've had 2 over in Marion County. Some people may not realize that I not only sit in Upshur County, but I also have to sit in Marion County. So I spend about 85% of my time here in Upshur County and about 15% over there. Over here, we had an aggravated assault case, guilty. That man got 15 years. He and his friend, not his girl, it was a girl and a friend, but they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. They went on a meth spree, and after he'd been up for about 6 days, she'd been up for about 3. She was trying to get out of the car, and so he took a 380 and shot her under her chin, came out her eye, and she actually lived. He drove around for the next 12 hours with her begging him to take her to the ER, which he eventually did, and he just pulled up to Longview Regional and just stopped under the awning, and she got out of her own volition and walked into the ER. Jury gave him 15 years, the maximum was 20. We had we tried a man for possession of controlled substance, drugs. He had some prior felonies, pretty bad prior felonies, pretty long list. He got 20. We tried a lady in Marion County for murder. And I don't know if you, we don't keep up over in Marion County much, but they've had a lot of dog issues. So people that they've tried to take care of dogs, and they start these little shelters, and things go south, and it's sad really, because people intend to help the dogs, but they end up having more than they can take care of. But this lady in her neighborhood started a dog shelter thing, and they kind of got crossways, and that went south after a few months. And the neighbor came over to the defendant's house and was yelling and screaming at her, and they got into a fight out in the yard, and the defendant actually choked her to death with her bare hands out in the yard. And the Marion County jury basically said, you know what, that lady shouldn't have gone into the other lady's yard, and we're only going to give her 8 years. So she got 8 years for murder.
Wow.
We had another guy who it was sexual assault of a child, and there were some extenuating circumstances over that too. The jury gave him 10 years. I won't go into the details of that. We had a non-jury trial over there where a guy killed his mother with a baseball bat. I won't give you details on that either, except he went to me on punishment, and actually the family members had said, please find him guilty of like sudden passion, the lesser included, which would reduce it from a first-degree felony, which is 5 to 99 or life, to 2 to 20. But I found him guilty of the murder, and then just because of the circumstances, I thought he deserved 80 years. So he got 80. I'll tell you about the details in private sometime. Mr. Bird had a case over here, and this lady, she was in her probably early 40s. She had been convicted once of possession of methamphetamine with intent to deliver in Kaufman County, and she got off relatively lightly. He and I never talked about it, but I figured she tried to make a deal with him where she would, she really wouldn't admit it on the stand. She was probably trying to turn state's evidence, and she got off really lightly because she had like a kilo of methamphetamine, which that's a lot. That's an incredible amount. But she got caught over here, and she had 17 grams, 14? 17 grams. And she had scales, and she had the little baggies, and so it was packaged to deliver. And she pled guilty, and she went to me on punishment. And this is one of those things that, judges and juries take into consideration during sentencing, is the fact that what I told you earlier, she's going to get the big pen time, but even at 50 years, which I sentenced her to, and a lot of people saw that in the paper and they were like, golly, he gave her 50 years for possessing methamphetamine? Well, yeah, because she's probably going to do 6 or 7 is all she's going to do. And she showed up to court that day with her 6-month-old baby and the baby's daddy. It was freezing cold that day. And the little boy, 6 months old, he didn't have on any pants, he didn't have on any socks or shoes. And I didn't take that into consideration when I punished her, but I was angry about it. Just to give an example of how sad these situations are, and people that you don't see every day in your life. After she left to go to the pen, then the daddy was left with the baby, and they found him in the bathroom with a heroin needle in his arm. And the 6-month-old baby had been by itself for about 2 days in the home. So that's just a very sad example of what Billy and I deal with every single day in the district court. Much different than county court. And I'm happy Judge Tefteller wanted that job, but I'm not looking back. And I loved all my commissioners that I had for many, many years, but I don't miss them either. That's sort of a joke. I do miss some of my commissioners, not all of them. But That's what I do on a daily basis now. Hear divorces and criminal cases and tax suits and things like that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, you talk about Marion County, I'm gonna understand that they kind of have wiped out their courthouse. Where you have the courthouse over there?
They have a building, it's there on Austin Street. And it's like, they have a little Jefferson Park thing.
Yeah.
With the statue of Thomas Jefferson. It's that red brick building right there next to it. And so we have a court upstairs. It's fine, it's adequate. But they're spread all over the city, so they have court there, and the DA is there, and I've got an office about the size of this table in the back of the courtroom. And then the county judge and the county clerk, district clerk are 2 blocks away in another building. So that county judge is, he's doing a good job. He's very young, very young. Yeah, Tim, Mayor.
A little bit of a political question, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but in recently in the news, I've been hearing about giving felons the right to vote once they complete their sentences. Do you have an opinion on that?
I haven't really thought about it. There's such a wide range of felons. You know, we had a guy today, timber theft, but then we see some really, really bad people. I mean, somebody that, like I told you, that would beat his mother to death with a baseball bat. I don't know if those people should ever be able to vote again. But I really haven't given it a lot of thought. Steve?
Well, I had the opportunity to visit the court not too long ago, and they didn't have any juries, but I noticed you did have 2 or 3 people that came before you with orange coveralls, and they had chains on their feet or arms. And all of them pled guilty and put themselves at the mercy of the court. And I noticed that you did not have much mercy.
I don't know that I don't have mercy. I mean, I do feel for these people. I really do feel. I mean, the day that lady, I mean, she's there with her baby, and I just feel like, I mean, I've got to do the right thing. And I feel like, but if you think it was hard for Dean Fowler, I mean, I know many of y'all all of my life. If you think it was easy for me to sit there and send that lady to the penitentiary for 50 years, it was not easy, but it was the right thing to do. So, yeah, Steve, I think I do have mercy, but I am hard.
Well,
and I'm going to be hard.
That wasn't a joke, but it was meant to be light.
I know. Pete?
What's the biggest surprise to you, or was there any surprise to you in taking that job?
The biggest surprise to me is people that are getting divorced. I mean, Nan and I have been married for 36 years, and y'all have been married for many, many years. You know, that's not easy. But boy, some of these people, when they start getting divorced, they just turn into, they're just vicious. And they don't even really, you know, they don't really want a lawyer, they want a mercenary to come in there and kill everybody else. And it's just, criminal things are really pretty easy. They really are. Billy makes them easy. He makes them easy to handle. But you get these family lawyers, and they don't think anything about asking for, you know, we need half a day. And so they get a 3 or 4 hour hearing, and the only 2 people they call are the parties, the man and the woman. That's the only people that even testify. So family law is difficult. And again, I try to be sympathetic and understanding, but it's hard. Tim, Mayor.
don't you think that a lot of the information that the people get from the newspapers or here or Facebook, or wherever they get their information, that's what all they're privy to? And when in fact, the district attorney, the investigators, and you have all the facts as they actually occurred. So when you have the guy come in there with his high school diploma and his new suit shaved, well then that's the impression people get. It's not the impression that you get from what you've seen the investigation has brought forward.
That's correct. We see a lot more than, the newspaper could never cover everything we see. And people are not fair and impartial on Facebook. So, the general public does not get to see everything that we see when we make the decisions that we make.
Plus, I guess they're not aware of the decision that you made for 50 years amounts to 7.
Correct. Yeah. 7's probably a lot. That's probably the most she's going to do. We picked a jury yesterday morning, and after here's a funny thing that happens. So every month I usually have 45, 50 people on the jury docket. And they have to show up. Some of them are in jail, some of them are not. They all have lawyers. And they show up in the courtroom and they see 150 people in there ready to serve on a jury. And they start changing their mind real quick and they start deciding, maybe I better take that deal the DA offered me. And yesterday we had one of those days, and it took all morning. These defendants finally decided they're going to plead guilty. But we did pick a jury yesterday, and we will start trial in the morning. And so it should be an interesting trial. If anyone, I can't comment on it because we haven't tried it, but I'm sure Billy can comment on it.
How do you select grand jurors now? It's different than it used to be.
Yes, it's very different. So we pull a jury list, just like we would for a criminal or civil jury day. It's just a list of probably 300 people. And we have them show up, and they have to be seated in the specific order that the computer spit them out. Then I ask them some questions. I explain to them a little bit about what grand jury is, and then it's basically up to me to select the 15 people that are going to be on grand jury. I've only done it one time, so 15 grand jurors and 4 alternates. Is that? Don't tell me.
12 and 4 alternates.
12 and 4. 12 grand jurors, 4 alternates. So it's a more random process than it used to be. Used to district judges pretty much just selected who the grand jurors were going to be. It's still similar to that, but the pool is much smaller.
So what challenge besides family law is the hard? I mean, doing judge is the hardest. Most challenging, I should say. Besides family law, because I've already said that, but.
That really is the most, sometimes I had a juvenile case today, and so I don't do very many of those. So that was different. It was difficult for me today because, I knew what to do, but because I don't do it all the time, I have to pull the juvenile probation officer over and say, hey, what do I tell them here? But that's just a learning process. But really the most difficult thing is listening to half a day or a day full of one family law case.
Yeah. I've got a question about, I'm gonna call it education, for lack of a better term. I think about people going out and driving, kids who are going out and driving, they just give them a car and take off, they don't have a wreck. They need to put that car, they need to see some of the bad stuff that could happen. What if they went out here and had a course where they had to really get down to the dirty, see how bad a wreck could be or something, feel that car being out of control. So what about this court? Can anybody just come down there and watch the court? What if we had young people that had a little tour to just go down there and see how court really sounds? And think about what they're gonna get into if they get crossways with the law. Could we bring people down there and just let them sit there and listen to court?
So y'all hear what Mr. Bishop's asking? These kids that might be getting in trouble, could they just come into court and watch? And yes, they can. My court is open. So anybody can come in at any time. You can't videotape it or record it, but you can certainly come in and watch it. And it took us about 2.5 hours to get through that work this morning, and we had probably 10 people from the jail up in the sitting in the jury box with their orange and white suits on, and then we had all those plea bargains, and that 15-year-old kid had to sit in the back of the courtroom and watch all that for 2.5 hours. So when he came up to the bench and he was entering into his plea bargain, I just told him, I said, have you been watching this all morning? Yes, sir. And I said, it's not pleasant, is it? No, sir. And I said, if you don't stop doing what you're doing, you're going to end up sitting in that jury box with those guys. It's not a place you want to be. But if more young people would come and see that, I think you're right. It would benefit them. Barry?
Typical hours, Dean, that you're in court, that's open to the public?
You would just need to call because some days I don't have court at all. You can generally count on Tuesdays. It's going to start at 9 o'clock and it's going to be there through the afternoon. I've got, I think, 15 divorces scheduled this afternoon. So, yeah, and like 6 of them are pro se, which means they don't have lawyers. It's not fun.
Speaking of lawyers, do you ever get aggravated with any of the lawyers?
No.
That's a tough question.
Phil?
More so a question, but every week when I get the Gilmer Mirror and I see Philip Williams' report on all the activities that's been going on for years, I am amazed, flabbergasted by the number of methamphetamine cases. Billy Bird, you are exposed to this. It's scary that the problem in this county is that bad.
And I'm going to tell you just one product of that, okay? Child Protective Services Court. We have a special judge that comes in and hears Child Protective Services. We have one assistant DA, and that's all he does, okay? We have to pay his salary, and it's all because of meth. Nearly all of these parents are on meth. They get their children taken away from them. The legislature requires that I give the mama a lawyer, the daddy a lawyer, the kids a lawyer, okay? This year we are on track to spend $200,000 on CPS lawyers for these parents who are on meth. Okay, to give you that's about $0.015 of tax rate. So I know it's time to go. Anson.
Good, thank you.
Additional prosecutors for special things like say prosecuting meth cases or domestic violence. Is that money still out there?
We have one for domestic violence that Billy applies for every couple of years.